Hi Formula 1 fans, my name is TSB. Welcome to the recap of the first race of the 2017 season that was held in Australia. The race yielded some interesting results, and first and foremost we have seen what the new Spec chassis and engines are capable of. We definitely have seen improvements in lap time, which amounted to 2 seconds worth of improvements on this track, roughly. We were promised 5 seconds, obviously, but let's see. This is a street circuit, so we might see the improvements later on down the line in some of the more permanent circuits of the season. Obviously, if you're watching this, you probably know that Sebastian Vettel managed to win for Ferrari, and that this was not a classical battle in a sense that the drivers really didn't battle it out on the track, but it was more of a tactical battle between the teams, and this is something that we will see definitely more this season. As you can see, it's very difficult to follow behind cars, and at one point in the Grand Prix Hamilton was complaining significantly that he cannot overtake Verstappen, even though they had an almost 2 second difference in pace at that point.
There's no way I can get past this guy. Okay, copy that, Lewis. Just keep the pressure on.
Of course, behind the first two, the drama was not really unfolding that much as we hoped. Only solace we, as Formula fans, might have is the battle for the midfield, which is alive and well, and I'm glad to say that. You could clearly see that the Force Indias had some special repairs. He was doing some awesome stuff with the car. They have some bite in them, and we definitely can look towards battle between Toro Rosso, Force India, maybe Williams. Williams was somewhat difficult to judge as Massa got away, and he was driving in clear air for most of the Grand Prix, while we had Lance Stroll, who had a brake failure, and really, he started way back down on the grid. The data might not show their true pace, but at least we know that the field is much closer together. I was terribly sorry to see the Haas guys fail, both of them actually, and it was particularly devastating for Romain Grosjean's Haas Ferrari, which actually retired on lap 13 with the water leak in the engine. So this was a prime chance for them to score the points. They might have been caught by Felipe Massa, but that might have been a long shot. Romain Grosjean was going very well all weekend long, and it's devastating to see them lose those points because they have to score early in the season. They don't have the same budget as the rest of the team. Okay, it was somewhat good to see also Renault somewhat rejuvenated. Palmer is immensely unlucky. It must be a really scary feeling, if you are going 250, 300 kilometers an hour, and suddenly the brake pedal just goes to the floor, and there's nothing that's physically connecting the pedal itself to the brake system. Everything is by wire now, so even the brakes. So if it just fails, if you have a sensor fail, if you have anything, you're just a passenger at that point, and there is really nothing to do with that. Like right now, his problem was that his brakes were sticking, so they were not separating as you push down the brake pedal, you start braking, and then you just cannot unbrake yourself, essentially.
Problem. Okay, understood. Talk to us. No, anchored on the brakes. Anchored on the brake, understood. Can you move or not, or is it completely locked? Same again. Understood, Joe. Let's keep going. If you can get going, let's keep going, please.
And 2-3 times happened to him during the race, and he was just not able to continue. And I mean, he started way back down, so I mean, it was already a real terrible weekend for him. But to see him go like he did, it was really sad. On the other side, it was really good to see Hülkenberg somewhat rejuvenated. Of course, there was this huge scrap with him, Ocon, and Alonso, and that was around that's close to the end, laps 51-52, and as they were coming through the start-finish line, you could clearly see that yeah, this is what we want to see, like 3 cars wide, going like to the max. It was really unfortunate that we only had this because Alonso's car failed. Honestly, if he wouldn't have a problem with his suspension at that point, we probably would have seen just a train of 3 cars going to the end of the GP. But as it happened, Alonso had some problems with his suspension. His car was going slightly to the left all the time, so it was real difficult to handle. And we had 3 different cars, 3 different engines battling it out on the start-finish line, and you could see that you could follow, but you have to you have to be really bold. You have to risk it all essentially on the corner, and you have to trust the other guy that okay, he won't kill me essentially. You could see this with Ocon and Hulkenberg, how they took turn 1, but you could also see this early on. Perez had 2 great moves. Essentially, he had a move on Sainz and a move on Kvyat, which you see right here. And both of these moves, like, he was going all out, and you can see that even like in one of the moves he clipped the opponent's car, and he was very lucky to not get a puncture on that. Okay, so let's cover the end of the top 10. Obviously, you had the 2 Toro Rossos there, and a sandwich between the 2 Force Indians. Toro Rossos were driving a great race. Kvyat might have gotten the 7th. It was really unfortunate for him that he had to pit so late. Essentially, there was a problem with his hydraulic system, and they have to refill it with air. At that point, he lost essentially a couple of places, and Kvyat is in this weird place where he was already upgraded at one point to the better car, the better sister car. He was relegated down, and you're trying to find your better foot. You're trying to battle it out. You're trying to show your bosses that hey, I can still do this. I have this. Like, give me another chance. In Red Bull, maybe not, because like pairing of Ricciardo and Verstappen is really strong, but someone else on the grid, and I can you can feel for the guy that he's trying to keep his job, and he's trying to get maybe a better drive for next year, or go somewhere else, or the year after that, but have a future, because you can see that if you don't deliver, you might either sit out, or you might not come back. Let's talk about Daniel Ricciardo as well. Terrible, disastrous weekend. Like, in front of your home crowd, you even have a freaking air show in front. Air show before the Grand Prix itself. Even the pilot has the "Go Dan" sticker on his helmet. You just have to feel for the guy that he has the 3rd best car right now, and he's in front of his own crowd, and he just can't get a break. His car breaks down on the way to the grid. At this point, I was thinking, okay, here we go again. He won't even go out. But then they fix his car in the record time. I mean, the technicians with Red Bull did some great work there to get it out. Like, he was 2 laps down, but he was still going for it strong. Like, they were just testing at that point. Honestly, like, he would have needed 2 safety cars to even catch up and be within the same lap, have a chance at the points at that point. Actually, he could have gotten some decent points even with 1 safety car, because even Perez was 1 lap down, so could have been possible, but sadly his car went, and he lost fuel pressure halfway down the race, so really sad for him. Okay, as far as the rivalry goes, well, we have a season in front of us. At least that's finally we have some competition at the top spot. Like last year and the year before that, we had at least the Williams and Force India battle last year. So there was at least some the Red Bulls were once Verstappen got into a Red Bull, They're going like crazy. So it's not that we didn't have competition like between teams, but right now, it's good to see them fighting it out for the top spot, not just for P3, P4, whatnot. However, I feel that we might be in for the races of old. Not really like races from the last century, but like early 2000s when we had the Schumacher era of domination, where like you could have had a race that was not tactical, but most often not. You had a race where the win was essentially delivered via tactics, via tactical decision. It's more of a like endurance type of racing. Like it's great to see the guys getting finally some good laps in at the end, and it was perfect to see like multiple drivers asking on the radio that, hey, what's the fastest lap? Can I go for the fastest lap?
How much faster is the fastest lap? Too fast.
And how much off am I? And just the technicians on the wall just chill, just don't put it in the wall, please. So that was really great to see. But the overall race might come down again to be more boring, sadly. Like we have faster cars, but to have a situation where individual skill plays a huge role, something has to happen, something has to break down, someone has to have a moment, someone has to make a mistake. And that's not what they wanted. Honestly, the new owners of F1 came in rather late this year, so they don't really have the time to do anything about this year per se. So we might have this year as another one of those that we'll just write off, sadly. I'm optimistic for the future. You have Ross Brawn supposedly as the guy who's telling that, hey, we'll do this to get the sport more interesting to the younger generation. You still have essentially a 2-hour window for the sport, and for most of it, as I'm looking into my notes, like most of it I had only problems written down. There were not organic moves per se. Honestly, on the only 2 organic moves I recall where there was absolutely no problem involved were the 2 moves Perez done on the Terrasos, and that's mostly it. Rest was one way or the other, either tactics or just a car broke, and that's not ideal. On the weekend of the 8th, we'll head on to China. Now that's more of a permanent race track. It has straights that will give you a larger chance of overtaking. If you have a pace difference between 2 cars, then you can definitely, if you hit the apex before a long straight, you can definitely overtake there. So that will show us a clearer picture of where we are at. That's all that she wrote. This was TSB recapping first race of the 2017 season for Australia. I would be really happy if you come back for my recap of China, which will happen. The race itself will be on the weekend of 8th of April, and my recap will follow probably during next weekend after that. Thank you for watching. This is TSB signing out. Bye.